Review: What Happens in Atlantic City Won't Stay There in Reacher Season 2 Episode 2. The premiere episode of Reacher Season 2 successfully introduced a mystery more personal to its central character than the murder of his brother Joe. The first season's adventure tied directly to Jack Reacher's past, and this continues in the sophomore outing. As a former special investigator for the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Division, a new problem threatens the only family he has left. The situation gets much worse by the end of What Happens in Atlantic City, and the normally stoic Reacher may be starting to come unraveled. What Happens in Atlantic City opens in a house in Queens, New York. Reacher and two members of his unit, Francis Neagley and David O'Donnell, check up on another comrade, Tony Swan. Instead of finding him, they find his dog's body and signs that Swan hasn't been home in a very long time. Reacher assumes Swan is as dead as his dog, something that would end up costing him when he went to confront someone he thought was involved. Lest anyone argue Reacher isn't a show about a superhero, he kicks the front bumper of a car that's been following them so hard the airbag goes off. Instead of beating down a conspirator in the plot against the special investigators, he broke the nose of New York Police Detective Gaetano Russo. Since this was a mistake, both O'Donnell and Neagley cite Reacher's own training back to him about the danger of assumptions and missing the details. Season 1 introduced Jack Reacher as a kind of lone wolf hero reminiscent of Batman, though he doesn't share the Dark Knight's aversion to guns or killing. The newest outing puts Reacher in the middle of a team that knows him far better than his police allies from Margrave. Whether it's because of the death of his friends or a sign of trust in his team's abilities, Reacher is not quite the same character. He's more of a wrecking ball, reacting to what's around him with ferocity instead of care. When the trio becomes a quartet with the arrival of another veteran of the 110th MP Special Investigations Unit, Carla Dixon, Reacher is unsettled for a different reason. This season is based on Lee Child's 11th book in the Reacher series, Bad Luck and Trouble. In that story, he greets Dixon with a hug and even spins her around a little. In the Prime Video series, he's more reserved. The flashback and end of the episode make it clear Reacher and Dixon have a long-running romantic affection for each other. They never acted on it in the service, but since Reacher is no longer Dixon's commanding officer, they do. It's another example of how Reacher is different from similar stories in the action thriller genre. Instead of talking around their feelings or leaving things to subtext, Dixon asks why they never got together in a very straightforward way. In both the books and Season 1, Reacher always gets involved with a woman, but Dixon is unique. They share a history, and it will presumably be harder for Reacher to walk away from her. At least, it will be more difficult than it was for him to leave Margrave police officer Roscoe Conklin behind. Instead of waiting until near the end of the season, Reacher's storytellers don't waste any time coupling them up in Season 2. The premiere episode unfolded at a breakneck pace, even for a series like Reacher, which didn't waste time in Season 1. With only 8 episodes, the storytellers don't have a lot of room to spare. Still, What Happens in Atlantic City slows the pace a little, better establishing the group. They go looking for 2 more of their missing members, Jorge Sanchez and Manuel Orozco. Sanchez and Orozco turn up dead, like Franz, whose murder started the investigation. 3 of the members of the 110th are gone, and Reacher's next movies are again driven by anger, guilt, and revenge. Were he alone or working with people he didn't know and trust, it's possible Reacher would only end up getting himself killed. He's still exceptionally good, from his command of the details to the Act 4 fight in which he and Dixon take out a crew of assassins. He's just off. Season 2 of Reacher comes out swinging, and Episode 2, titled What Happens in Atlantic City Won't Stay There, solidifies that Jack Reacher's second outing on Amazon Prime is bigger, bolder, and just as brutal as fans hoped. The episode continues to explore the aftermath of the Season 1 finale, while introducing new layers of mystery, all against the backdrop of the gritty, crime-infested streets of Atlantic City. With more depth, tension, and action-packed moments, this episode sets the stage for a complex and enthralling season. The setting: Atlantic City. As a character, Atlantic City has a reputation. From its heyday as a glamorous casino hub to its decline into something more sinister, it provides a fitting playground for Reacher's brand of justice. In this episode, the city feels less like a mere location and more like a character in its own right. The sprawling casinos, shadowy backstreets, and seedy nightclubs reflect the tone of the story. These environments amplify the danger Reacher faces as he dives deeper into a conspiracy far beyond what the surface suggests. The visual palette of neon lights contrasted with dark alleys gives the city a chaotic and unpredictable feel, echoing the unpredictable nature of the threats Reacher encounters. The show's ability to blend realism with a heightened sense of noir makes this episode stand out. Atlantic City is not just a place for Reacher to confront his enemies, but a symbol of decay and corruption, perfect for a man who operates best in murky moral waters. Reacher's character evolution. Alan Ritchson's portrayal of Jack Reacher continues to impress. His Reacher is equal parts brooding, methodical, and explosive. While he's known for being a lone wolf, this episode shows more nuance to his personality. Episode 2 delves deeper into Reacher's past, particularly his time in the military, and how that experience has shaped his code of justice. There are glimpses of vulnerability here, particularly when Reacher crosses paths with characters from his past. The writing smartly balances Reacher's overwhelming physicality with his sharp intellect. Fans of the books know that Reacher isn't just muscle, he's a strategist, constantly thinking several steps ahead. In this episode, that side of him shines as he navigates a city teeming with people who want him dead. One standout scene involves Reacher outsmarting a group of thugs in a casino, using their greed and the chaos of the environment to his advantage. It's these moments of cunning that elevate Reacher from a typical action hero to a layered character. Plot progression. A growing conspiracy. The episode wastes no time in expanding the central mystery. What seemed like a simple case of organized crime quickly balloons into a larger conspiracy involving corrupt officials, human trafficking, and possibly even international intrigue. Without giving too much away, the episode's title foreshadows the idea that the consequences of Reacher's actions in Atlantic City will have ripple effects far beyond the city's borders. We see the reintroduction of characters from Reacher's past, including Frances Neagley, played by Maria Sten, who returns to assist Reacher. Their dynamic is one of mutual respect and shared history, with moments of levity sprinkled throughout the episode. Their partnership in this episode is a welcome addition, with Neagley serving as a capable ally who understands Reacher's methods and complements his strengths. The antagonists in this episode are equally compelling. A local crime boss and his henchmen seem to have their claws in every corner of the city, from the casinos to the docks. However, there are hints that these criminals might be answering to even more powerful figures. The stakes are high, and the show does a great job of building tension, as Reacher realizes he's caught in a web far more tangled than he initially thought. Action and pacing. If there's one thing Reacher never skimps on, it's the action. Episode 2 delivers in spades. There are several intense fight scenes, including one in a dimly lit parking garage that is particularly brutal. The choreography is tight, realistic, and showcases Reacher's physical dominance without making him seem invincible. What stands out is the sense of weight and impact behind every punch and throw, making the fight scenes feel grounded in reality. However, what elevates the action in this episode is its pacing. The slower moments where Reacher gathers information, pieces together clues, or engages in tense conversations are just as compelling as the action sequences. This balance between adrenaline-fueled moments and quieter,